everyone, and welcome to our first YouTube video where today me and my fiance are going to be building a £100 PC that consists of an i7, 16 gigs of RAM and a GTX 960. Now without further ado, let's get started!
I'll be chasing
That's right, £100, i7, 16 gig of RAM and a GTX 960. Now I'll go through the specs in a second. It consists of new and used parts, and you're going to be amazed with the result of what this PC is of £100. And we was too. Now we'll start off with the case. We chose the Cooler Master Box Lite 3.1 tempered glass. We picked it up for £25 off Gumtree, brand new. And it's a fantastic case. It's a micro ATX format, it's small, and it's going to fit this build lovely. We then needed an SSD to make the operating system run nice and quick, obviously because we want to use the hard drive, which I'll go on to in a second, for storage, and then the SSD as the boot drive. So we went with the Aseno 120 gig SSD off Amazon for £14.25, and that's a bargain. The reviews on this, people were saying was equivalent to a Samsung Evo SSD, and for £14.25 it's going to fit in this build nice. We then needed a cooler because obviously stock coolers ain't any good, so we went with an Antec A30 at our local computer store for £12. It's got a blue LED light, it's a nice cheapy little thing, and it's going to cool the processor really nice. So that's what we're going to be using for the cooler today. Now my favourite part. We was lucky enough to get a Gigabyte H61 micro ATX motherboard with an i7 2600 socket 1155 CPU with 16 gigs of RAM and a GTX 960. We got this for £15 at our local recycling centre. It was in a battered Cooler Master case. We took the parts out, and for this computer it's going to look nice in. It's even got the film on the GTX 960. I believe that the RAM is Kingston. They're two 8 gig sticks running at 1333. It's going to be enough to run multiple tasks at once, so that's ideal as well. We then needed a power supply to run this system, and this was quite difficult. So we went with a Corsair VS650 that we got also off Gumtree for £25. We did see a lot of power supplies, but we saw a lot of off-brand generic non-80 plus power supplies, and for us paying £25 and the other ones more, this was obviously the answer for this computer. So it's gonna be enough power for the system, and it's not gonna overload it or anything like that. So this is gonna be ideal for this PC. We then realised that the motherboard sadly doesn't have USB 3.0 on the motherboard. So we had to buy a 3.0 to 2.0 converter, so then we can have full functionality of the USB ports on the front of the case. Paid £2 off this, sourced it from the internet, so at least then we got all the USB ports running on the front of the PC. Last but not least, we need a storage drive to store games and large files, because we're not going to put that on the SSD, because obviously that's not going to be big enough and we're going to be using that as the boot drive. So we got a Seagate 500 gigabyte hard drive that was pulled out of a satellite recording box. We paid £5 for it. This is going to be plenty enough for this computer, so that's what we're going to be using for storage. Now, let's get started with the build. We get told by a lot of people that PC gaming is unaffordable, and while that is partially true, I am pretty certain you could build a pretty decent PC without breaking the bank. Games are cheaper, you can do more on a PC than console, and there is of course freedom. This video that we've made shows that a £100 PC is more than capable of playing games, and at the end of the day I think you should enjoy the game by the quality of the gameplay and not always by the quality of detail.
Two hours later.
Nice.
Building a PC doesn't always have to be built by new parts. If you have a look around on websites like eBay, Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree and make sure all the parts are compatible, I am pretty certain you'll be able to build a pretty kick-ass PC. A great idea is to look at the parts that you've found and read the reviews, and that obviously gives you an idea on how well received that product is. Okay, Leanna's just finished building this PC. We haven't turned it on yet, just plugged in the kettle cable, so we're both going to see it at the same time, turning on, and hopefully all goes well, and we're going to be listening out for a post sound to show that the computer is posting correctly. We haven't cable tied the PC yet, we're going to do that straight after if all goes well. We didn't want to cable tie first because if there was a problem with the PC, it's easier not to have everything all cable tied, just to make process of elimination a lot more easier. But we're going to turn it on now, see what happens, and then we'll get Windows installed and then get to the benchmarks. It's turned on. And it's beat. Right, we're going to start cable tying this PC, get all the side panels on, and then we'll get Windows installed and then show you guys what this PC can perform like.
Day 4.
So when Windows was past install and in the getting ready stage, it went a bit funky. So we had to adjust a few things in BIOS and perform a BIOS update, which thankfully sorted out the problem.
We start the benchmarks with Cinebench R20, which achieved a score of 1,257, which is pretty impressive for this 9-year-old CPU. On the Cinebench score sheet, it was only 50 points less than a Ryzen 3 2200G, which is a modern day CPU.
Next, we loaded up Fortnite, which was playable, achieving over 60 frames per second.
We then loaded up Doom with the API set to Vulkan instead of OpenGL. We had a mixture of medium and high settings, but so far Doom was running very playable on this PC. A great classic of mine is CSGO, which was very playable with all settings on high. MSI Afterburner wouldn't show the FPS and the nitty-gritty information, but I think that was down to the anti-cheat system. Every time you return, see it in your tired eyes. I just
Just Cause 4 was playable, averaging around 40 frames per second. The physics in this game is what makes it hilarious.
Made it.
Bueno, follow that piping. You're gonna come face to face with the Black Hand.
We've come face to face before. Heading up.
Then I loaded my favourite game, Spyro, which is playable with no load drops.
There's nowhere to go. 'Cause the thing you're searching for has been waiting back home. I stay waiting for you.
Lastly, we tested GTA, which ran well on this PC on medium and high settings. And that's today's video with the i7 gaming PC. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up, comment what you would like to see more, and subscribe. We're new to YouTube. We wanted to show you what we kind of do, but hopefully you love our content and we want to bring you more similar to this, because we've got another one that we're going to think about doing, which is an i7 6-core 12-thread 24 gigs of RAM. And that's going to be around about this price range as well, and it's also water cooled. So that's for today, and we'll see you in the next one.
Go, mama!